Alright, so it's the following morning. That seat cured up nice overnight, and I went and I hit it with a, I think it's a 000 fine steel wool, and just kind of ran it over the seat, and it took all the sheen out of it, and it kind of makes it that leather look. I think it looks good. So, because I thought of that, I thought to myself, what would stop you from doing the same to the belt? I wanted to have a leather belt as the drive. I wonder if that would hold up. I know that from going around the bend in the front that it's probably going to get a bunch of little tiny cracks in it, but when you look at a actual leather belt that was used as a pulley, I don't know if the light's going to show on this or not. Let's see what we got. Can you see all the cracks that are in that? So I figure it's going to do that same alligatoring, but it's supposed to kind of look like that. So I did a little test. Let's see what we got. He also painted an old serpentine belt, and I want to see how that's going to go with following the same idea, whether it will hold. I actually think it'll be fine, and I could probably even spray the back, this side of it too, and then the paint will drop into the grooves, and then just the outer part here would wear off again, and just end up being, you know, the rubber on the aluminum contact. So I think that'll work out pretty good, and I can kind of turn that into you know, that same kind of look, kind of keeping the theme going through the bike. But I'll worry about that when I spin the bike around and have the front tire in there. The throttle set up, clutch is set up. Not quite sure where I left off, but anyway, so I got that that thumb throttle on there, and that's your throttle for the bike, so that should be fine. Front brake lever hooked up, and that should be fine, and of course the clutch was already done, so that's all set. I have myself a little bit of a punch list of things to get addressed, and exhaust brackets, can't remember what it was. Gas bolt cut, don't know what that means. I'll have to figure that one out later. The grips and the tassels, put the rear fender on, the side stand, kickstand, tie off the fuel lines, make up lights, grind off the blue, and clutch return spring. So it's just some stuff to go knock out, and let's talk about grinding off the blue. I think I want to lose some of this up here more. I think it's too prominent. I may just leave that area and that area and make that metal looking. And one last thing I want to try and go do is I want to make these so that when I had it running, if I held these down and revved it up, it was nice and really quiet. You know, of course it's getting restricted and all the exhaust is trying to come out that little tea kettle hole. So I have my dogs passed dog tags, and I want to try to make some kind of spring or latch setup on them, and I want to have the dog tags as the piece that you grab to unflip so that they can flap free again. So we'll see how that makes out. Alright, instead of me doing talking, I'm going to go shut the camera off and see if I can get something done, and when I do, I'll turn these back on. Yeah, so it's spun around up on the lift, and now I can start working on the ass end of it, and I did. I popped the back tire off of it, and that will facilitate getting the belt out of it, which is hanging up there. I already got my first coat on that. Trick with this stuff is to mist it on really light, and then it won't have any problems. So as you can see, still see through it. I'll probably do about 4 or 5 coats on that real light, and that and the seat can go into the house for a little while, let it dry up. But while that's going on, I figure I can start trying to fabricate my rear fender setup and mounts and see how that makes out. So I'm going to go jump on that now and see what we get. So I'm staring at the fender. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, and I figure I might as well just start with kind of lining up the cage and maybe put a couple of tacks on the inside of it. So I split the two halves, and I ran a grinder down the main rib right down the center on each half, and I'll use that for the section where I tack it back together. But it's like working with a porcupine. All these edges are just cut off with a cutting wheel, so I got myself a good old pair of leather gloves while I'm playing with it. So I don't know, I figure I'll start with that, and I gotta I think I gotta stretch it a little bit, get a little bit more distance between the front and the back of the tire. So I'll try doing that with a bunch of tacks on it and see how that makes out. Alright, so that thing's tacked and I just got it sitting on the wheel. And pretty much what you look at, it's almost dead nuts size of the tire all the way around. Now, I'm trying to use 180 degrees of it, so of course I'm trying to touch on both sides. The more I get rid of the fender, you know, the less of a letter C that it is, the more room it'll have if you just elevate it a little bit. So I always have that, but I want to try stretching it first and see if I can try to help make a little bit larger radius out of it, see if it does move a little bit. And even if it blows out about an inch, that should be enough after I cut it down. So I'm gonna go try bending on that and see what I get. Alright, so I did just that. Laid it down and kind of rocked it out some, and you can see it's sitting down all the way. So I can do this one-handed. It's got play front and back. Yeah, it moves. Anyway, got about that inch of play. So now I'm trying to look at it and see what I'm going to do to come off of the frame. See what comes off the frame and figure out how to attach from. I should put the lift down. The frame on the side here and figure out how to come to this side. And I need to be able to remove the fender at this point. It has to be able to unbolt so that the fender can come away, so that the tire can come off. So I don't know. I first was kind of thinking like garden tool, like a what do you call a sickle, the curved blade to it. I thought I might have had one or two of those, and they would have been cool on the side, had them hang around and, you know, hang off the side of that. But I couldn't find that. So you know, other things like restaurant stuff, wrenches, and yeah, at this point I just kind of want to get it done. If I have to run and get something, I will, but let's see if I can try to find something here that can make this work. So then run around again. How about like that? Alright, back in a minute. Alright, so I'm thinking something like this. We're going to take this wrench, leave it wrapped around the frame, and I'm going to heat it and bend it so that the center of it is through, and I can kind of through bolt it. And this one, I'm probably going to bolt it down here, and I'm going to heat it up, kick the head in, and bolt it on top with, again, like fender washers. It'll make for a lot of adjustment on it too. And have it so this one can remove, because I need to be able to get that tire out of there, and I don't know if this will be in my way or not. And this side, we're just going to go with that guy. All this stuff, courtesy of EMC's Corner, is overflow wrench. Some of those overflow wrenches, I think. So, probably weld this one down here, and this will help stiffen this frame up. This is right where the meat is there, you know, whatever, scab together. So I'll weld the crap out of that, and that should make so that fender can adjust pretty good and remove. And I figured also it's going to follow the belt line right underneath it. So, and speaking of which, we have drying over here. A genuine imitation Saskatchewan leather belt. That should be good. We'll just leave that as long as possible. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. The only one I don't like that much is this one. I'm not that crazy about. This one will look cool. We'll see. I'll start with heating that one up and bending it, and then we'll see if we can move from there. I'm also thinking of cutting this row off, stopping it right there. But I'll make the bracketry first and then decide where I want to chop it. All right, let me get something done. All right, so I've been contemplating. That's what we can call it. I like this wrench set up here, and I kind of like this one. I think the other one I had bent it up, put it into place. I don't know where it ended up. Here it is. As you can tell, it's like a banana. I had it coming off the frame and trying to catch a bolt way over there, and I'm like, why am I trying to go way up there to go grab it when I can just go right off the frame right here behind it, tuck it in, and it won't be as obtrusive, you know. So at some point it just looks like you're throwing crap at it. So that'll get rid of that one, and we'll go with the 2 struts in the back. And I'm trying to think of what I can use to tie this to this and still have it adjustable where it can kind of like slide through the different holes in the frame. If I want to move the fender around, if I need to move the tire around, I need to have the fender a little bit of adjustment to it too. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld a washer on the inside of this. And of all the different combinations I've gone with, as you can see, I've gone with doorknobs, different kinds of doorknobs. I really liked this style. It's just a steel doorknob, and I kind of just hit it on the wire wheel to give it that, you know, that old metal without the rust anyway. It looked something like that. Not that these look bad neither. But anyway, so I was thinking of having one of those kind of threaded in on each side. And then that made me go over towards these on each side and, you know, have a little bit of a brass color in it, something just kind of weird with the doorknobs in the back. I thought, yeah, maybe. Then I started going all around the Horde. I knew I had these guys over here, and one was a gift from Elderly Iron. Jeff Bradshaw. He had mailed me one of these. He found it, I think, in a yard sale. He said, and I appreciate that because I something similar to it, or it was one of the two. I can't even recall at the moment. I want to say it's the blue one, but I'm not sure. Could be this one actually. And I knew I had another one, so they're close enough to use. They don't match, but they're, you know, one's got wings on it and one doesn't, that kind of thing. One's heavier than the other, but they have a fairly decent sized stud on it, and I don't really care about where the power's coming from. I can yank that right out of there. And so I figure I can probably go right through that bolt with a big washer on the inside of the fender, and then a jam nut there. I can reach on the inside and tighten that down, and that could be a light on one side, and that kind of goes with the pull starts, the orange of that. And the only other color that's on the bike is blue. This one's got a blue lens in it. Anyway, blue, you got a little bit in the front there, and a little on the front frame there. So not gonna be able to hold both up at the same time, but you got that one on that side and that one on the other. And I think I like that look the best. So the bike's totally illegal anyway, so I'm not worried about having lights that comply. So I think I'm gonna go with those. I'm gonna clean them up and buzz a washer on the back of each one of these and see if I can bend this one, heat it up, bend it more like how that kicks in, you know. Do the same on that one to get rid of that gap. And I'll see how that works. Hey guys, it's been a day since I was on the bike, and of course over that much period of time I forget where I left off as far as piecing the video together. But I believe we were working on the rear fender, and I guess I'll do a recap. I cleaned it all up. I re-welded wherever the bottom points were on all of them. I re-welded all of them, so all these have new welds on them all the way around. And then I ground them smooth so there's no sharp edges on them. All up in here, these are now attached, so they're one piece, and the same up and through here. Got some shims on the wheel, and then I believe I was showing wrenches, what I was trying to do as far as using wrenches for supports. So I went with 2 of them, and the one that you can see there, and they have, on the inside of the wrench, there is a washer welded to it. So on the back side of the wrench, there's a washer welded to it, and then I just use the center hole for a bolt to go through, and then there's a washer on the inside. Can you see it? Yeah. So the bolt goes through, and then I just ran a nut on there, so I can kind of move the fender with plenty of adjustment, because I could slide it on these rings. And then I could actually, if I wanted to, I could change which one I wanted on, if I wanted to lower or raise the fender. So I wanted to leave it so I had an adjustment, because if I had to adjust the tire, I can adjust the fender with it. And then the fender probably has a good inch of travel. You can see all the leather that's stacked up in there. So there's a good inch of clearance around the tire too. And Now I'm getting to the point where I'm going to clean up the surfaces here. I'm going to weld this wrench on, weld the other wrench on. I should be able to unbolt the fender, be able to take it off, and then remove the tire. That should work out okay. And the only other piece I have to go do is I'm going to make one more mount for right here, probably a bolt going down through here that I do the same as this. Well, that was good, wasn't it? At least I didn't break it. That stuff just sitting on there. All right. So those three pieces will get my my fender kind of stout and into place. And after I get that done, I'm going to button them all up and set my lights up correctly. And then I'll put the belt back on it, and we'll come back and we'll show what it looks like, all nice and back together and kind of purdy like, and show you how the belt came out too. I think it's going to look really cool. All right, back in a second. I figure I'd grab the camera and do a little parting shot while the back tire is off of it. And everything's kind of ready to rock and roll. They're all welded on. Took that off to get this one set up. This is that third point to catch, and I'll put some big washers there too. There's the back sides of them. I ended up putting a nut down in this one and tacking it. I also filled up the center of that with a bunch of weld because I'm bridging a connection right here underneath. So I wanted to add more material, and that one nut was just to kind of hide it and make it look like the wrench actually is doing something instead of just kind of hanging out in the air, you know. So I'm gonna go throw the belt on it, the wheel on it. I lied, I didn't weld the thing 100% underneath. I got about I don't know, 30. Good enough though. Looks like one of those things, that game that you play. Shuck the ball. I forget what it's called. It's popular in the 70s. It came with your badminton and volleyball all in one set. Alright, so I'm gonna go get that squeezed back in there. Actually, I'm gonna get the tire on first, and probably have a little detailing to do on that. Probably want to clean up probably just want to run a wire wheel around the welds on the inside. Might beef them up a little bit, and get that thing on there. Alright, I'm gonna get that done. Alright, so I scuffed up my seat, and I'm telling you, I think it looks like genuine imitation leather. Not gonna sit on it now though. I want to let it cure up for a while. And the belt is showing a hair of green through it. I hit it with a Scotch-Brite before, and the problem was I was hitting the Scotch-Brite on the corner, which is a stupid thing to do because all the edges are hanging up in the air. And then I started doing it in the side here, and then it's fine. Handlebars, moved on to handlebars. So I wanted to try a test to make up some grips, and this is just the leather sliced up on the bandsaw. And then I just put a rivet in it, wrapped it around, put a rivet in it. I want to see if it would stay kind of like tight. I was afraid it would kind of unravel a little bit. But it does pretty good. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. I'll slice up a longer piece though to get one continuous section that can probably do 5 or 6 inches or so. Something like that. Try to hide the rivets. Alright, so I'm going to go probably play with that. The other part is, I was thinking about doing some tassels hanging out of them, that pull chain, lamp cord pull chain. A bunch of those kind of hanging down. And problem is I need something to put them in and then put them into here. But something that's kind of soft. I was thinking like, you know, plastic. I could probably use wood, but I'm afraid if I drill wood too much, it's going to want to fall apart. Where plastic will kind of maintain its strength a little bit. But make a plug, probably about a ½ inch thick. Drill a bunch of holes in it and wrap the chains through it. Like every 2 could be through 2 holes, and that make it one continuous one, you know. And get about 6 or 7 of those in each one, and just let them hang. So I'll see if I can find something for that, because I want to use the last rivet when I put it in to key that piece up. So I can make that piece, pop it in, wrap the leather around, come to a stop, drill it and pin it, and then that pin will also hold the plug from falling out. So let's see how that works out. Alright, I'm gonna go find some stuff. Hey, it's play and look time again. So I didn't know what to do, so I just decided to make a bunch of piles of the stuff. And pretend like what it's supposed to look like and then go from there. And kind of an idea came to me when I did that. And all these are right now. It's just I just took random lengths, you know, roughly 10 inches long or so. Made them all the same length on this, and I just shoved a tie wrap around it, and I was able to stuff them in the handlebars on both sides. And instead of trying to like run these through a bunch of different little holes and try to make a plug for it, I decided to do this. Just use the right stuff, that's all. So I figure I'll flip the handlebars upside down, and I'll shove that nozzle right in the center of it all, and I'll just let it pressurize itself right into all that stuff. And I think it'll lock it all right into the handlebars pretty good. And if it don't, it don't. It's the worst case happens, it just pulls out. But I think that'll take care of it. And then if I run a rivet kind of down into the pile of the stuff too, it'll kind of give something that pin it on top of that. But I actually think this stuff will hold by itself. Unless some kid comes around and tries hanging from it, you know. Oh well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shove those in there and flip the handlebars over and see if I can get them kind of filled up with some goop. I have to add a couple of that. Looks a little thin. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. How about we run it like that? The ultimate board track racer. Might be a little hard to reach the pedals. Alright, enough fun and games. Let's go get the rat stuff stuffed in there and fill those holes. Alright guys, so I got my grips done, and one's right, one's wrong, but the first one I guess was the practice one. There's a split on the belt. Cow is only so long, his girth, so it repeats itself on the roll, and that's where the seam was. And of course when I bent the seam, you can see how it kind of lifted up. Not that that's that big of a deal, but my start and stop kind of sucked. You can see the rivet on that one. I had the handlebars down. I was trying to figure out from down there what it would look like up there, and that doesn't work well with the mind of a dyslexic. So I flipped it up in the correct position, and then I was able to redo that one correctly. But you can see chrome here. I nipped it with a vice grip, so I kind of chomped up the leather. So I found now that you just leave it long and pull it tight, put the rivet in, and then cut it off when it's done instead of trying to clamp it down and do it. So here's how the second one came out. Much better. You don't see much of anything. Pretty much hides all the handlebars. And you get one rivet right there and there. So they're kind of like out of eyesight. If you do see it, so what? Bike's got rivets in it anyway. And if I have a problem, I'll put a rivet in every one of them. So I'm going to drill these back out, redo it. But what's happening now, because they're flipped over, the weight is trying to pull this. Not this one so much, but the other one. The weight is trying to pull itself back out because it's hanging. So I got to push that whole gooey assembly back in just a little bit, and flip these over to the handlebars and put a piece of tape or a tie wrap around it, keep the weight off until they cure overnight. Alright, so I'm going to go do that and redo the other one. And I think the next thing in line, I want to tie off all the fuel lines. But you see the black. I want to take that, and I think I want to try to wrap them in copper, and tie them off kind of pretty like. Set of hose clamps, But let me get this done first. Well, that's about it for me for tonight. It is off the lift, other than maybe a headlight and a couple little odds and ends. I think that's pretty much what we're done with. Unfortunately, there's everything's covered with snow outside. That's kind of the money shot right there. I wire tied off all the hoses. Started with that one, and then I also did these guys right there and right there, and it kind of supports the whole shebang. And then the same on these fuel lines here. Kind of just because it dresses them up more, Hand grips are tied up and just gonna let them cure for overnight or for however long, you know. Same with the seat, let that dry up as long as I can. Try to leave it alone, and the same with the belt. The belt's gonna get beat up. I know it is. It already is. See all the cracks. But as long as it stays the color, or mostly. Alright guys, again, thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, and taking the journey with me on this one. It's been fun. Now we get to, when the weather gets good, we get to fire it up and run it around.